Hello, welcome to our webinar, and thank you so much for attending wherever you are today. At the moment, we'll be discussing the importance of human support, even in this age of AI. If you're anyone who is anyone in customer support, you have heard the buzzword AI a lot, I imagine. We talk today about the ways that AI can be used to strengthen a team of agents. So I read actually earlier today that November 30th, 2022 was when ChatGPT first burst onto the fore, which is a year ago tomorrow, which is kind of insane because if you're like me, you're probably using it in little ways throughout your day and in ways that seems like the fastest year in the longest time that we've actually had these tools in our life, right? While AI has been bubbling under the surface for such a long time, this last year has really seen it boil over, and especially in customer service. So there's a lot to discuss when it comes to this. What is now available? What are some reasonable expectations for leaders? And what are some challenges as well that crops up with all of these new tools and new considerations? I will start by introducing myself. I'm Grace. I work for Klaus, and I've been creating customer service content at Klaus for a few years now. I write blog posts, I do podcasts, and of course, webinars. And I'm joined by two friendly experts. I will let them introduce themselves in 1 second. I'll just go through some housekeeping rules first. So we'll have a general discussion between all of us, and during that, you can write any questions you have that crop up in the questions tab for you. And we have someone working in the background who's going to keep track of all of those. And then at the very end, the last 15 minutes, what we'll do is throw it over to the speakers to answer your questions. So we'll hopefully have a good bank of things to answer for you. And we'll do that at the very end. So just as your questions come up, please type them in. And excuse me, if there's anything that you want to go back on to rewatch, hopefully we'll give you some interesting nuggets and pieces of advice. After this, you'll find in your inbox a link to the recording so you can watch this all over again. So without further ado, I will throw this over to my colleague Matt from Klaus to introduce himself.
Nice to meet you all. So Matt Marentate, head of partnerships here at Klaus in North America. I'm based in snowy Toronto today. We've got about 4 inches of snow outside, which is fun. And I speak to tons of heads of customer support, tons of agents all day, every day. And, the topic of AI is top of everybody's mind right now. So Grace and the team asked me to join, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Awesome. So we're your Klaus representatives. We're also really happy that we're partnering with Freshworks for this webinar. And from Freshworks, we have Karissa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karissa. I work in product marketing over at Freshworks, and I've been doing product marketing for several years now. So helping with go-to-market strategies, helping with unique positioning and messaging. And I actually am helping with our marketing and AI efforts right now at Freshworks and leading the charge there. AI is top of mind for everyone. I am really excited to continue learning about it and talking about it. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today.
So let's kick off this discussion. The first question I have for you is, we're talking about the effective ways that AI can be implemented to complement human service agents. So do you have any kind of advice or examples of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take this one to start. So I think AI is actually very exciting in the customer service realm. It is completely changing the game. It is transforming customer service operations. And really the way I view AI is as the ultimate customer service assistant to agents. So it's not a replacement. I want to make that very clear. It's more of a complement. So as agents, I have talked to so many customer service heads. I've talked to agents. I've shadowed agents. I have seen how tedious their jobs can be. And at the end of the day, when people are reaching out to customer service agents, it's because they are very unhappy and something did not go well. And so already they have a lot working against them. So all of those kind of routine, mundane tasks that get in the way of agents having valuable conversations with their customers, that's where AI can come in and really change the game. So I view it as AI is doing the heavy lifting so your agents can focus on the work that really matters. And how does that look? So when it comes to generative AI, some of the capabilities of generative AI, it has the ability to completely rephrase a message. Sometimes your agents might not be in the same location as a customer. That could cause problems with language. It can rephrase the message to match their language and also be more casual, friendly, professional, anything of that nature. Also, you don't want to have to take time summarizing a conversation. If you need to escalate a ticket from like L0 to L1, L2, you can leverage AI to just write a few short bullet points, and it can summarize the entire conversation. It can do the same thing with responses. You can just put a few short bullet points, and from there, it can create full-fledged responses. I mean, I literally could go on forever. I think it's incredibly exciting, and we're seeing really great results at Freshworks. So our customers who have been leveraging AI-powered chatbots, they've been seeing they can deflect up to 70% of queries before it even hits a live agent. And then from there, if it does need to go to a live agent, the live agent can then utilize other AI tools, like getting a full customer context or knowing what, solution article to look at to be able to give the customer the best answer possible and to respond to them much faster with better quality. So agents are happier, customers are happier, and leaders are happier as well.
I can tell you work in marketing. But I mean, yeah, like you said at the beginning that it works like an assistant, which makes so much sense because it's so multifaceted, right? What it can do, and like the sky is the limit. Unfortunately, we do only have an hour, but yeah, we can get into as much as we can. Matt, what advice would you have then for being able to do that to like bring out the best potential for agents?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, Chris. Obviously, it's about enhancing your customer contact center, right? It's not necessarily replacing. So I'd actually like to take and answer this from a more practical perspective. So I was in California recently at a leadership conference, support-driven leadership conference. It's basically a little organization that gets together. It's all like heads of support, and obviously AI was the topic of the day, right? So, in fact, by the end of the conference, I think everybody was sick of talking about AI, but that's beside the point, right? So, I think, we did a little bit of a workshop, and what we did was we said, okay, like, if you want to implement a program, like, how do you do that? And it actually, all of it begins before you actually sit down and install some AI into your process, right? So, I think we did a little raise of hands and said, how many people are using AI today? And I want to say 99% of the people raised their hand. There was some element of AI, but everybody agreed it could be used in better ways to enhance the experience. And so we kind of sat down and we thought, okay, so where does it begin? At first, it begins with understanding that you can use it to enhance your contact center jobs. For example, breaking down the tasks that a customer rep might have, right? So they're going to have certain set of tasks that they have. Obviously, there's a bunch of universal tasks across customer service reps, but then you'll have your own custom ones. Once you've identified those tasks, we said that, okay, you need to analyze each one of those and figure out where can generative AI, we're going to talk about this later, generative AI might augment those tasks, right? For example, ask yourself, what you were saying, Karissa, are these mundane repetitive tasks that are on the list that we could use AI for? Are we paying particular attention to ones that lead to burnout, inefficiency, that kind of stuff? And then this was most important. Everybody agreed that, right, you're not going to apply AI to every single task that a customer rep does. It's overall, amongst all of their leaders that I talked with, it was totally agreed that the media hype, right, about AI wiping out the entire job categories like customer service, was overblown, right? So the winning companies, the ones that are going to do the best in, next year and beyond, right, are the ones that are going to use AI to augment their teams, not replace, doing more with the same or, sometimes less.
That's really interesting. I think as well when it comes to doing more, what people want when they contact customer service. Sometimes it's a really quick answer. Sometimes it's like a heavily personalized, customized answer from an agent who knows so much, right? And how do you think AI has or can help support teams work better to offer, that more personalization?
I'll take this one. I think in the personalization space, AI is completely changing the game. So I actually just read a really interesting stat that when it comes to personalized recommendations, suggestions, 81% of customers are willing to share their data for those personalized recommendations. And honestly, if you think about it, we all have lives. We're all doing a million things. You want to get the best like product, you want to get, the perfect accessory right away. You don't want to have to kind of wait around for that. And how AI can help is it can look at a customer's entire purchase history, conversations, their entire history with a company, and then it can proactively recommend suggestions to the agent to give to the customer. And from there, they're giving more personalized recommendations. The customer is happier. And then it's also helping the bottom line because it's driving more sales. So personalization is huge. I think with AI, the way I look at it is we're entering this age of ultra personalization, because we've all had like personalized emails to like Karissa. Wow, this is just for you. Sorry, that's a lot of quotes. It doesn't feel very personalized. It doesn't feel very individualized. It doesn't feel like they know what I want. And so AI can actually help you with true personalization. And what that does is it helps the customer feel valued. It helps them feel seen and heard. And we're actually seeing success with this. So at Freshworks, one of our customers is Eva Cosmetics. They're an online cosmetics brand. They used to be in store. They used to be, both. And they got really worried when the pandemic happened and they were going to have to move their whole business online, because the way they excelled in selling was those like face-to-face personal interactions. And they were worried that when they moved to like AI powered chatbots and then, they could deflect some of the queries and then push it off to like a live agent, that they were going to miss that entire like human touch, that personal touch. Mm. But what ended up happening is because of using AI, deflecting all those like questions, like where's my refund, where's all that, they were able to focus on those customer interactions. And then they were able to leverage AI and generative AI to pull up personalized recommendations for those customers, the agents were, and it led to a 230% increase in sales. It was crazy, the results they saw. And like I said, it was a combo of both AI and automation and deflecting common queries. So agents aren't burnt out dealing with like, how many times can you, look up somebody's customer number, tell them where their refund is? Like, that's not where our agents' time is best spent. Our agents' time is best spent building those relationships, giving those personalized recommendations. And then that's going to help build customer lifetime value. That's going to help drive sales. There's just a whole world like we can still explore when it comes to AI and personalization. And I do think it's really starting to drive the needle.
I think that personalization is a really good point, because there was an article I was reading, it was earlier in the year. It said, it was an Ipsos survey, and they said, 88% of people still preferred to interact with a human customer service agent, right? So when you are doing that interaction, your personalization point is even better, right? So it's just that more personalized approach.
And this like buzzword of support-led growth has been around for a while, but these are like the facts that actually prove it, right? If you are allowing your team to personalize, then of course you're going to drive sales, you're going to prevent churn, you're going to make the customers feel so much more valued by the actual business themselves, which is hopefully what it's all about, and also what your agents themselves will get. Will feel more reward from, rather than doing all of these repetitive tasks. But kind of behind the scenes, how has AI advanced then to improve how leaders can therefore optimize their customer support operations? We've talked a lot about how it looks for a customer, but behind the scenes, what can happen there?
Yeah, I can take this one, Karissa. So I think, the whole advancement of AI, I'd like to start off with defining RPA versus AI. Everyone knows what AI stands for, but not everybody might not know what RPA was. And I didn't for sure myself until a little while ago when someone was discussing this with me. And so RPA is robotic process automation. Okay, and there is a difference between AI and RPA, and there's some confusion around that. And I'll dive a little bit more into that here. So With RPA, there's two types. There's unattended RPA, which is basically a bot doing all the work with no human involvement. And then there's attended RPA, which is bots doing work with humans. RPA has been around a lot longer than AI as we see it today. And it's been really highly effective for customer service centers by automating routine and repetitive tasks. So a great example of that might be processing a refund or return, or support for basic inquiries that follow script. A great example is chatbots. So chatbots, says they've existed for years and years, have been really just RPA, robotic process automation. Input in, and then it follows the script and goes along, right? Freshdesk has their chatbots, but they're not RPA, they're AI, right? They're much more iterative and much more like advanced than what they have been around. But like, we actually came out with an article a couple of weeks back, and I remember we said, chatbots are the way of the future. And one of my customers was like, what do you mean chatbots? Those have been around for ages. And it's like, no, you're thinking of chatbots that are robotic processing automation chatbots, not chatbots run by AI. So, moving on to AI, unlike RPA, it follows where RPA follows a predefined rules and scripts. AI can interpret customer inquiries, right? It's more contextual, it's more accurate, and this means it can handle that complex customer interaction much more effectively, providing that relevant and personalized support. So we've moved on from the realm of RPA over to this advancement into the AI. So back to your original question, what are some of those examples? Well, like AI can do things like analyze your voice or text interactions in real time, and it picks up on things like customer sentiment, tone, satisfaction levels. And then in real time, you're guiding agents, suggesting responses and actions for them to take. This is where that augmentation of AI helping customer support agents to be more supportive and more personalized, that's where that comes into this.
And that's just changed so much as well, I guess, over the past year in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to jump in on that, you had mentioned earlier that leadership conference you went to where everyone sat down about implementing AI and trying to figure out those processes that could be automated and where could you use AI. So AI has advanced so much that now at Freshworks, leveraging generative AI, we have the ability, you can prompt the system to say, what are the most critical issues affecting my customer service operations today? And through a conversational interface, prompt-based interface, it will show you the issues affecting your customer service, and it will show you the gaps in your automation process. And then from there, you can look at those gaps as a leader and you can say, hey, this is a really, common customer question. I'm getting all of these different queries about it. Let's say it's a travel company and you're getting queries about the luggage policy, right? You don't have a chatbot flow for that. AI can then suggest a chatbot flow for that. Go one step further. And when I say AI, I mean generative AI. You can go one step further. It can build that entire chatbot flow. And then this is where it gets really crazy. It can deploy that chatbot flow on your customer's preferred channels. So whatever on WhatsApp, SMS messaging, whatever it is. So now you're even using AI to proactively identify those gaps. And when it comes to reporting analytics, I think a lot of people here can probably agree. It is not the most fun. It's not the most fun to dig through data and be like, why is my company not hitting the numbers it should be hitting? And now you can use AI to help you identify those gaps. And then on top of that, not just identifying the gaps, you can actually deploy strategies and it can recommend strategies to solve those problems. So it is just continuing to advance. And not only is it helping customers, right, with self-service with AI-powered chatbots, which lead to deflection, meaning customers get their answers faster. It's helping agents with all of the different productivity boosts we have talked about today. And it's helping leaders make better data-backed decision with proactive insights so you can really move the needle for your business and you can focus on those strategic decisions rather than getting lost in the weeds of the reporting, the analytics, anything of that nature.
And like with the just mass amounts of data, that is available, there is only so much that you can pull out of it if you do it manually, right? Whereas if you have, the AI to do it, then it's just going to make you even more productive and even better at using these tools. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling cycle in that respect, which is, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, you can realize value faster.
Yeah. But with that change, there's also, of course, I mean, we won't go into like the fear mongering of AI, but just for teams in and of themselves, just to make sure that they keep on top of things so that they're still fulfilling what customers want and still fulfilling what agents want as well, so that they're not, losing control a little bit. What that comes down to is still just making sure that your customer service is of quality, right? But then how do you, when your AI strategies are changing or when the tools you're using are changing or advancing, how do you measure that quality and make sure you're keeping that bar high?
Good question. Yes, quality. I talk about that a little bit in my day-to-day. Yeah, so I think in the realm of customer support, obviously AI, large language models, have really changed the game for quality assurance QA, right? Like if we're thinking of quality in a program, like looking at quality assurance, looking how your agents are doing, are they providing the best service to your customers? I think, now that it's been implemented in such a large scale, it really has changed the way that you can understand the data and insights. So let me bring this to life for you. So currently we're working with a really large gaming company. And when they came to us, they were doing the traditional QA, but they were only managing to review a tiny fraction of overall customer interactions. We're talking thousands of agents, tens of QA managers, and on average they were lucky if they were covering about 2% of conversations, 2% of tickets, right? And that's about industry standard norm. But here's the thing: even of those 2%, they were looking at, they didn't actually trust the quality of that data. Because the QA scores weren't matching up with their performance of what their actual agents and reps were doing. And they dove into it a little bit more, and they found out that, it's because they weren't actually looking at conversations that mattered. They had just a standard QA process where they randomly picking up conversations and grading those. And of course, they were getting high scores on stuff because most of the stuff was super simple. It was like a password reset. Who cares about a password reset? Of course, you're going to get a good score on that, because if you reset the user password, away you go. So after some thought, the gaming company that came to us, they basically said, well, what we'll do is we'll implement auto QA. So auto QA is a bit of a buzzword around the industry right now. And quick sidebar for those of you that don't know, with AI, we've hit almost the holy grail for QA. Really that capacity to score every single customer interaction. And this is commonly referred to as auto QA. But here's the thing: auto QA is only one piece of the AI pie, right? It's not everything in a QA program. And like other parts of your customer service org, when you having AI, it's to augment and not replace. And so this company that we're working with now, they were falling into that trap of like, oh, well, we'll just go ahead and replace our QA program with AI. It'll be easy. Auto QA all the way. The problem is that auto QA doesn't provide the whole picture. It lacks that nuanced understanding of empathetic decision making that the human agents bring to the table. So you need to have that mix. So they kind of did a quick Google. They found us actually, and we sat down with them, and we really mapped it out, and we said, okay, if we're using AI to augment what your human agents are doing and make your QA program more effective, how do we do this? And we did it so for 4 steps basically. 1, we took auto QA, we implemented it for them, and it helped them with the broader picture items, making sure you're getting a read on all of your interactions in your entire universe and you're not missing anything. Then you're going to drill down. And when you drill down in the insights, you're still going to have an element of manual QA into it, but manual QA with the help of AI again, right? So what they're able to do was boost their 2% coverage to 10% coverage using a variety of AI automation, filtering out a bunch of noise, all that kind of stuff. And then this was the best part that they liked, that of that 10% that they were actually reviewing and using for training, coaching, et cetera, the AI makes sure that they're looking at the tickets that matter. Looking at outlier conversations, looking at conversations that the AI identified as potential customer churn. Who would love to know when a customer is about to churn? We can do that now with AI. Things where a customer requires an escalation point where you have to bring it to the manager. They're no longer wasting their time on the stuff that is the password reset questions and the conversations that are going to be high score. They're looking at stuff that is of value for the training and coaching. And then the final point I'll add, it kind of goes back to what you're talking about, Karissa, was more of the using that AI piece for the broader picture, right? In a quality program, a lot of it's about like, how's this agent doing? How are they responding? But you can use that data now with AI to expand out. You can go and use the data, the insights to go to that product team and be like, hey, a lot of people are pinging us about this, which is what you guys do at Freshworks, right? Like, we may have an issue here with product. Let's go fix that so no one's pinging us anymore.
Yeah, just to add to that, you mentioned a lot about using AI kind of in the post resolution, right? So after the conversation has taken place, and that's so important, and you're able to see, the quality score, and then from there you're able to see, are there gaps? Do we need some training here? Same thing, like you can use those quality scores to improve product, but on the proactive side, you can actually leverage AI now while your agent is in the midst of talking to a customer. So it can proactively give them suggestions. It can recommend different things to say.
Cool.
So it's helping proactively coach them. This is something we're testing over at Freshworks. It's leveraging generative AI, but it's helping with quality both from the proactive perspective and also post-resolution. So throughout that entire customer conversation, you're helping your agent give the best response possible.
Real-time coaching. I like it.
Real-time coaching. Yes.
There's, so much information as well about how if your company is investing in your coaching, then you're going to feel valued, you're going to feel more rewarded in your job. And that just only means that the talent in your customer service team is hopefully going to stay longer. So therefore, these, people who are being trained, from several different angles and given just the best information from AI can only get better. And the longer they stay as well, the better that is for your customers, right? The more expertise they will actually have in your product and in their customer base. Something that's like a phrase that's come up many times is that it will enhance and not replace. Do you guys find that that's quite a common misconception, or what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about AI that still exist today?
So just because you said the enhance, not replace, I'll jump on that. I think that's a huge misconception with agents, with leaders, just in general. I mean, all of the movies are about like AI replacing humans, and not to go that far, but like this is a big misconception. And as somebody that has a job that maybe AI could potentially replace, I feel comfortable saying like it is really a game changer when it comes to productivity. It is not here to replace human agents. As Matt mentioned earlier with that stat, people still want to talk to humans. Humans are empathetic. I mean, half the time you get on a line with like an IVR and you just keep saying agent, agent, agent. Like humans are so very important, and that human touch and that empathetic response is very important. But at the end of the day, we're all incredibly busy, and we don't want to spend time on those really boring questions. And also, if you spend time on those boring, mundane, repetitive questions, you yourself as a human start to feel like a little robot, and that kind of defeats the purpose of you being a human.
We're both nodding enthusiastically.
We're going. So what AI can do is it can take care of all of those routine, mundane, tedious tasks. So then you feel less burnt out as an agent, if you put yourself in the shoes of an agent, because you're focusing on conversations that really matter. You're focusing on work that really matters. And then if there is a more complex issue, AI can easily triage it over to a live agent. And then from there, again, the agent gets to do something, they get to dive into a problem that he get to use their skill set. And they can still leverage those other AI tools to help them leverage that skill set. But in no way are human agents going away. I don't see it happening. And I feel like everyone in the space, in the AI space, feels the same way. And we all are trying to let people know that like it really can be a productivity booster, and it's a complement, not a replacement.
Yeah. That ties on two of the ones that I've heard over and over again. One is that, I think people think that AI is infallible and unbiased, but it is like, AI can really, it is often viewed as objective and error free, but it can make mistakes. I think one of the examples I think was the funniest one. I don't know if anyone heard of this one. There was, I think it was Bing before they bought Chat GPT. and some guy managed to get the bot to basically threaten him. He like figured out a way to like convince the bot that he was a specific person, and the bot at the end of the day would unveiled some stuff it shouldn't have unveiled, basically, and it knew that, and then it was just like, I don't like the way you're talking to me, and then signed off. It was hilarious. I was like, well, okay, so we be careful about these bots.
This is not a customer service agent that you want to throw in front of your
Exactly.
customer
So
base. Yeah.
yeah, right. And so like, and that kind of like leads into the other one I always hear is like, AI implementation, it takes time to lead to results. Like it's not immediate, right? You have to, like we talked about before, like effective implementation. How do you make sure you're setting it up properly? Data in that you get out is only as good as the data that you put into it. Like my dad all the time is impressed about how well I can use ChatGPT. And I'm just like, well, the way that you're telling it to do stuff does not make any sense. And he's just like, well, I'm just copy pasting my emails. You can't do that. You have to get the right input to get the right output. So yeah, so that's a couple of words I hear a lot.
I'm actually very impressed that your dad is using ChatGPT. I don't think either of my parents have yet. I should ask them.
Yeah, well, don't tell my mom, but he's used it to write a couple poems for her. So
Okay, that's one of the best things I've heard all day or all week. That's wonderful. Um, I think going back to the misinformation, yeah, like you talked, Matt, earlier about the two different bots, right? Or the two different kind of forms of AI, and we've got these generative bots, which are so much more conversational, and they can understand so much more nuance. But that's also the risk with them, is that they can also make mistakes. Whereas the more automated, more boring, more like feed data in, spit data back out, it's a lot less nuanced and a lot less complex. On the other hand, it's always going to be accurate. So I guess it's just this huge consideration that and all the more reason as well, like we said, to invest in coaching, invest in customer service agents, and make sure that whatever happens, when the customer, if a problem is escalated to them, then they will get the support they deserve, right? And we've espoused so much during this whole discussion, like how people really need to embrace AI as much as possible, but that doesn't mean that there's not further challenges once they've done so. So what do you think are the most significant ones when you're starting to integrate AI into customer service processes, and like how can teams just start to address that?
I think number one, that's probably on some people's minds today who are here, is security and governance.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time, and for good reason. You're using data to train these systems. So I think a few things come into play here. One, you have to very clearly communicate your security and governance policies to your customers. And then on top of that, if you're using different models to train your data, so at Freshworks, we use generative AI models and we use discriminative data models. And we clearly let our customer know which data is being trained on each model. And it's very important, as any company that's going to leverage AI and use customer data to train these models, to be very explicit in that. And then on top of that, you got to give your customers the option to opt in or opt out of using that data. And we could go on about data forever, but also making sure that you're following the best practices, that you're looking at the different partners you're working with, make sure that they have good data and security practices in place. There's a lot there, and anytime you're using customer data, you just have to be very aware of how that data is being used, how it's being consumed, and communicating that to your customers.
Yeah, it's about finding the right partner, right? So like when you're looking to add AI into a program, how can you make sure you're partnering with the right person? I think one of the common questions that I hear around for our platform, for Klaus's platform, but for when other people are using other ones, it's like, well, how can I trust the AI? How can I trust what's coming out of it, right? Like how can I say, like, if it's generating information for my agents or reviewing a score for me, how do I trust it? And you want to make sure you're picking a company that has the expertise in-house, right? So I think both Freshworks and Klaus, we have actual data scientists like on our teams, PhDs, people that have patents in this kind of stuff. And so, I think there are a lot of companies, and it's this kind of like a watch out for this. There are a lot of companies out there that are like, oh, they put .ai on their on their login and whatever, and suddenly they're an AI company. But in actuality, there's no data scientists on the team. They just have an engineer, and he hooked ChatGPT up and put it in. That's not really AI, right? Like, you've got to be able to have the underlying infrastructure and the expertise in-house to say, okay, this is how we're going to develop it out now and how we're going to develop it out to the future.
I think, yeah, you really struck the nail on the head, and getting, trust from both sides, right? You're trusting you're making sure that your customers trust you with their data, but you're also trusting whatever partners you're using to make sure that there's going to be no discrepancies with outsourcing those tools, right? And we say this as Freshworks and Klaus, who are both very proud to have many smart data scientists in our team.
Much smarter than me, for sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
Much smarter than me, for sure. Yeah.
And me.
In different ways.
Yeah.
So looking forward then, this is a tough question because of course so much has changed in the past few years, but how do you expect AI to evolve further in the customer service sector?
I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier around personalization. I think it's going to evolve in so many ways, but as the technology continues to advance, I think also, it's going to become more nuanced. It's also going to be able to answer questions better. It's going to soon be able to, actually understand kind of customer sentiment, what they want, and it will be able to deflect more queries, but then it will be able to give your agents kind of like the tools they need to have those personalized conversations, to suggest personalized recommendations. This is basically, how many times can I say personalization?
One more time.
Really, at the end of the day, that is a huge advantage of AI, is helping you understand your customers better. And each individual customer is different. And so you need to understand, based on their purchase history, based on how they've talked to you in the past, based on what they've spent with your company throughout their entire customer lifetime value, how can you then, recommend other products that might be able to complement what they've already bought. And as you mentioned, Grace, you're now turning the support center into, like, it usually is just a cost suck. Like, agents are expensive. We know this. Now you're actually helping drive revenue for the business, which I think is huge. But on top of that, I just, again, see it as just being the ultimate productivity powerhouse. I know in my day-to-day, it already helps me with some of those tasks that I don't want to do. Or if you really quickly have to send an email, you can just throw in a few quick bullets and it'll give you a, full-fledged response. That gives you time back in your day to focus on things that really matter. And I think nowadays there's just so much happening. So whenever you can find ways to get time back, to be more productive, and not just productive, but to do it with like the utmost quality, top-notch customer service. And I live in the CX world, so it's all about fast customer responses. And so how can you get a customer a response as quick as possible, but not just any response, a personalized response that meets your quality, standards and expectations. And it just goes back to what I said earlier. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to start moving the needle for customers, agents, and leaders. It's already starting to do it, and it's just going to continue to move that needle.
That's so interesting. We talk a lot about priorities and the metrics and KPIs that teams follow. And it's like, okay, there's sometimes this balancing of like, do you do a fast response or do you do like a response of very, very good quality? And so what you're saying is essentially that shouldn't be an option anymore. It will be both, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
You still, as Matt said, though, like, I just want to make it very clear, like, you still need your human agents and you still need people behind the scenes. It's not just set up, one and done. It's a whole operation. And to Matt's point, you constantly have to be looking out for quality. You need to be training them. You need to make sure that what ChatGPT is saying, not ChatGPT, whatever, model you're using, whatever it's saying, is accurate. Like, Matt, you were saying the guy who got the what was it, Bing or whatnot? Wasn't
Yeah,
Google Bard?
Bing before. Yeah. Or Bing. Yeah.
I think it was like Google Bard or something. The AI ended up falling in love with the guy.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fun.
Yes. But this is all to say, like, sometimes I think nowadays, it's been around, we were talking about this earlier, for a year now. Feels like it's been around forever. You're like, oh, I don't know the answer. I'll just go ask ChatGPT. I'll just, go ask AI. And you get an answer back and you're just like, that must be fact. But that's not always the case. So you have to balance it, right? It's a continuous learning, adapting and evolving. But it's not a one and done thing either.
Yeah, if you take that human out of it, then it's going to spiral into out of control eventually.
Yeah. Actually, that's funny that you almost use the exact word. So our head of data science, Mervi, she did a podcast recently for us, and one of the things that she talked about the future was that it's going to have the evolving role of the QA specialist, right? So the QA specialist now is looking at interactions, but they're probably going to gain even more significance, not in just assessing like human agent performance, but also in evaluating and guiding those AI systems that we use.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about, in general, being more analytical, right? Being able to understand things with all of the data and the smarts that AI can give us, and therefore, hopefully, being a lot smarter at what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for customer service, I hope it means that when I call in and I do that security verification,
Oh
I
my
just
gosh,
do it once, or maybe not at all. But if I have to do it again, where I do my code and I type it in and then I get on the line, they're like, okay, can you just provide me some details so I can verify your security? But I just did that. I'm not doing it again.
I feel like we've touched on a pain point.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, I think mine is that I don't have to repeat myself, or I don't have to, if it gets transferred to someone else, or if I've started something on chat and then it's like, call this number, I don't want to have to repeat the whole thing all over again. I'm like, come on, you're tracking my cookies.
That goes into, though, like one of those new features, right? So if there's a ticket, this is for all the leaders out there, right? If there's a ticket, it's been a chat, and now you have to escalate it to the new agent. Number one thing customer doesn't want to have to do is repeat themselves. We've all done it. Look at the anger on this call. Doesn't go over well. And so you can now leverage AI to just, with a click of the button, say summarize. It will summarize their the entire conversation, the pain points, what they're trying to get to, and send it off to the next team member. So it's also helping foster collaboration between team members. So again, it just goes back to making everyone do their jobs better, faster, with better quality, but it's not replacing those people. AI cannot take care of that problem. It can only give you the information. And a lot of times it's not very empathetic. So it will continue to evolve, but this is, again, where that human touch comes into play.
Do you think that, as the industry grows in this, the customer support industry in general, do you think there's going to be new roles that are coming up that where the skills and literacy required, as it becomes more prevalent, are there going to be new jobs, like I'm the data and analytical AI overlord or whatever it is?
Definitely overlord. We're looking
I
for
think overlord is probably the title I would like. Yeah.
I think as is the case when anything new kind of pops onto the scene, but this is going to be around for years to come. This is changing the entire game. The way that the internet changed the entire world, this is what AI is doing now. And if you ask ChatGPT what industries are going to be affected most by the use of AI, customer service is one of the top ones, because there are so many opportunities for it to help everyone do their jobs better, or to help customers get answers faster. But I think it will lead to new jobs. And I think on top of that, then there's the quality, like we keep talking about. You have to train the AI. It's going to continue to evolve and grow. And as with anything, as it continues to evolve and grow, so will the positions, the opportunities within that.
We will throw it over to questions in a second. I want to remind people that there's the questions tab, but also if you have any predictions yourselves on what you think is going to happen in the future, then throw them up there and we'll debate it, because this is definitely a question that's got us all with our thinking caps on a lot. I don't know if you've seen the movie Her, but when you were talking about someone falling in love with or the chatbot falling in love with the person, that's when someone, the operating system falls in love with them and vice versa. Highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't seen it, by the
I've
way.
not seen that. No.
It's very, very good.
It's really good. Watch it. Oscar nominated.
Okay,
Oh shoot, I'm
we'll
gonna
talk about this
mess
after the webinar. But yeah, to your point, Matt, when it comes to new roles that emerge, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. When it comes to chatbots, there's so much behind the scenes that needs to be done with configuring that they're, using the right data. You have both talked a lot about using, good quality data, using customer data, and all of that, feeds into like a bigger machine. So this role of conversation designer and chatbot manager is coming up, and I think that's something that service agents can pivot into so naturally, because they already have a bank of those conversations in their own memory, right, in recent interactions. So I think we can start kicking it to the conversations. Yep. As I said before, if you go to the questions tab, you can type in yours. And I'll throw up the first one, which is from Scott. He says, I think that one thing I'm looking for AI to do is to determine and communicate intent. What does the customer want? And did we answer their question? So what do you think is in store for that?
On the CX side, I can just speak to what we're doing at Freshworks. And I do know that I believe, I don't have the roadmap pulled up right now, but I believe either in Q1 or Q2, sentiment analysis is on the roadmap. So exactly what you're saying, actually understanding the intent of the customer. And then when it comes to, did we answer their question? I think you can leverage, CSAT surveys and whatnot for that. But I know at Freshworks, that's something we're actively working on, and it's very top of mind for leaders because, as we've mentioned, it's one thing to just answer a question, but was it actually the right answer? Did it actually solve their problem?
I think it's just going to get better over time, right? Because as AI starts to pull in behavioral data, sentiment analysis data, I know there's like point of sales companies like Stripe and everybody that's starting to put in like purchasing behavior data, all that stuff. Once that all starts to bubble up together, intent and all that, it's just going to become more and more accurate for everybody.
I guess as well, it's such like there can be so many more layers to that as well, because sometimes the customer themselves don't necessarily know the intent to which they're asking a question. Whereas, if their question can somehow be anticipated by AI, that they're maybe looking to upgrade or maybe looking to churn or something, then it can be addressed proactively.
Proactive support is huge when it comes to AI. So it goes back to what Matt was saying and what you were saying, Grace. Things like, based off certain behaviors, does it seem like this customer is going to churn? We're going to give you an alert so you can get ahead of that. Or, you ordered this system on this date. We had a recall. We had this, we had whatever. We know that because you have this product, you're going to probably be reaching out soon being like, hey, it's not working. We're going to proactively reach out to you. Same with like a shipment, if it's going to be delayed. Customers really appreciate when they don't have to bring the problem to you, where instead you proactively get ahead of the problem and you anticipate their questions before they even answer them. So before a problem has even become a problem, it's solved. That's the goal. Are we quite there yet? No, but proactive support, AI can help with that proactive support.
Yeah.
And I guess otherwise it's almost impossible for the agent to know, because if they don't have the data to begin with, then how on earth are they going to be able to guess the underlying intent of the question? It's amazing, isn't it, when you think about just like how much goes into communication and effective communication. And if you're on chat, there's so much less that's being able to tell by, for example, tone of voice, or even if you're, face to face, and there's mannerisms. Yeah, it's something that I think will be very interesting, how machines can make us a little bit better at at understanding what we actually mean when we ask something and when we need support. Um,
I mean, I don't even know sometimes what I want for dinner. It's like, what do you want for dinner? And like the age old like quandary between my wife and I. Like, I don't know. What do you feel like?
my recommendation, actually, you could ask ChatGPT for that. You
You
can give it
can?
everything. Yeah, you can give it everything in your fridge, and it can tell you what to do.
What?
Oh,
I'm
it
gonna
can be
see.
leveraged so many different ways. It's wild. You can ask it to plan a vacation for you. And this is the same technology that everyone's taking into their own companies, right? The same
Mm.
underlying, large language models,
Exactly.
open.
Large language models. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just looking at what we're doing just on our own outside of our jobs, like it's helping me actually figure out what to eat for dinner. It's helping me meal plan, which I am notoriously bad at. And like, if it's helping you kind of in these realms of your life, there's endless possibilities for what it can do in quality management, customer support, other industries as well.
We have someone who's made a prediction, so we are all turning into psychics here. Please keep your predictions coming because I'm super interested in these. So Scott Alvarado says CX or customer support teams will remain lean as companies grow. That savings will be redirected to other departments, services, or products, and raises for CS and CX as the humans become a more valuable resource. So I would like to think. I love that, actually. I think that plays into, what we were talking about with just making these customer support experts, right? That's a really, really interesting prediction. What do you guys think?
I'm taking it all in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with AI, right? Is trying to do more with same or less, right?
Mm.
Just making sure everybody's efficient as possible. I guess tying it a little bit back to, the quality world, right? Like back in the day, you were covering 2% of interactions and trying to understand what was going on and measuring the quality. You could throw an army at it, right? Like you could hire thousands of QA managers to try to cover it all, but like that's that's not feasible to do and way too costly. So yeah, I think I think the savings that AI can have with CS teams, it will go to other places. I mean, but at the same time, I think AI can also just help teams invest back into itself. I think that's one of the
Mm.
important ones to look at is that, if you can use AI to save time, to save energy in those mundane tasks, can you then take that time to put it back into your own org for better coaching, for better training opportunities, rather than spending it on the things that you don't want to do?
Mm.
I like that. I think the other thing is when it comes to customer service, it's always been like try to keep it as lean as possible. I know a lot of probably customer service leaders struggle with that from the ones that I've spoken to. But I also think if the paradigm starts to shift, right? If customer service stops becoming such a cost suck, like we talked about, and like instead turns into more of a revenue driver, companies want to invest in things that are driving revenue for the company. At the end of the day, we all know this. It's about your bottom line. Are you hitting your numbers? So I think if, like I said, if that paradigm starts to shift and we start to see that CS is starting to drive more revenue and drive more sales, then perhaps there's going to be a shift where more money investments are put into CS. Just a prediction.
Here's hoping so anyway, because I think for far too long it's been seen as a cost center, and you've got people who it might not be tracked or traced just how much they're contributing to the bottom line, but it's something that needs to be valued, right? This is the direct line with customers. Yeah. I think we have one other question, which is how important is automation in customer support? And this is from Lillian.
I think automation and AI go hand in hand. So automation is still incredibly important. as Matt told us earlier, automation can take care of a lot of those routine queries. It can also help route queries on the CX side to the correct customer service teams. And then from there, once it's at the right agent, that agent can leverage those generative AI capabilities to better respond to their customer. But automation is not going away. I mean, again, it just goes back to think of your everyday life. All of those tasks you have to do when you first log on in the morning, all of those like routine, mundane, administrative tasks, if those can be automated, it gives you time back, gives your agents time back, your customers get answers faster.
Mm-hmm.
Automation is never going away in customer service. It's huge.
Yeah, no, I think completely agree. And like for, big, huge enterprises out there, right? They can have 24/7 customer service because they can afford it, right? But like the small, medium businesses, mid-market company, they don't have necessarily the funds to have 24/7 service. So when you can automate something like a chat bot that can give your customers coverage when your team's asleep, you're making sure that you can at least address your customers' inquiries when you're offline. And then when you're, again, back to your point, when they are back online, if you've got your AI in there mixing it up and helping you to qualify a bunch of stuff, you're going to have faster response times and you're going to have more efficiency that way. So yeah, I mean, automation, it's not going anywhere.
It's not like it's being replaced by AI and these
Yeah.
smarter tools. Yeah, absolutely. We have, I think, time for one more question. So from experience, how has AI affected frontline agents' day-to-day work?
I can answer that based off the agents I've been talking to. Something that I haven't mentioned yet that I think everyone probably is aware of is agents are constantly having to flip from like screen to screen to screen to screen to get the right information, to get what they need, and also to be able to get that full customer context, right? Or to be able to offer that personalized response, they need information from over here. They need their purchase history. What was their past conversations? Can I have a summary of their past conversation? There's a lot of work involved in that. So AI can take care of that heavy lifting and can almost serve it on a silver platter to them. So then they can use it to do their job better and to be more productive. I know I'm really harping on productivity, but that's really where I see AI making the biggest difference in an agent's life and kind of in the CX world. Because we all need just more time in the day. There's so many customer queries. There's such a high volume of queries. Just to give a very quick example, Monos, it's a retail luxury brand of luggage. In 2021, they had no automation, no AI, nothing like that. They could only handle 200 emails a day with 21 agents. Fast forward to now, they can handle 3,000 emails a day with the same number of agents. Actually, no, I think they went up to 31 agents. But it's helping them be able to answer more customer questions and to get those customers the answers they need.
That harps back to Scott's prediction that the CX teams will become lean but become even better, and therefore will deserve deserve a bit more investment, personal investment, I suppose, in the employees that you've like cultivated to become these experts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, fantastic. That's our time. Thank you so much, first to Karissa for joining us, and to Matt, of course, as well, for taking time out your day. You've both been so conversational and enthusiastic. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you. And also thank you to everyone watching, whether you're watching live or watching the recording. We hope you found a lot of value in this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us for further resources, or of course, if you want to find out more about Klaus and Freshworks, then we want to hear from you. But most of all, we hope that you can come out of this like enlightened and enthusiastic about AI, but also about the humans that are in customer service, because both of those things are going to be important for a very long time.